Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Imani, who is going to be a premier character coming to Road to Survival, and she is also going to be part of the Outlanders Allegiance. Visually we can see that she looks really sick, especially on the left hand side, but we're going to focus on the right hand side first. You see she's in like kind of tribal gear, but then she's got kind of like, I don't know, like a biker vibe as well, with the pads on her shoulders, very and obviously the knee pads as well. So very geared up. She's got the blades. She has the attack the stance that I kind of like on the fast characters. It does look really cool. On the left hand side, the art is probably now in my top 5 without a doubt. Imani looks actually sick. Her breastplate looks very interesting. I'm not sure what I'm remembering from this. I'm talking about like the sunglasses on like the skeleton face. This is reminding me of something. I'm not quite sure what though. But I really like the art. It kind of makes it look like she's summoning the fire, like fireballs, because of how her hands are out and the fire in the background. Anyone else getting that? Well, I am. It looks really cool. I like it. If we look at her stats as a maxed out level 1440 limit break 3 character, she has got 14,155 attack, 31,457 defense, and 33,029 HP. She is a fast character, considered a tank. Of course, she is going to be a mythic character, and like I already said, she is going to be joining the Outlanders Allegiance. Now we'll take a look at her adrenaline rush, and it is called Enfeeble, and it is 66 AP cost rush. Up to 3 enemies get 10,000 bleed for damage for 2 turns. When battling on the defense team, those enemies get 4,000 exhaust for 2 turns. So obviously 2 parts of this. The first is going to happen whether she's used on attack or defense, and she's going to do 10,000 damage on the bleed to 3 enemies. The second half, I believe, is the first real implementation of exhaust in the mythic era, and she is going to be doing it to up to 3 enemies. 4,000 exhaust is a lot. That means every time you gain AP that is not naturally gained, so for instance, signature move is natural gained AP, basic attack is naturally gained AP, but anything else is not naturally gained AP. Someone giving 100% AP to a teammate is not natural. Someone getting AP from their specialist skill is not naturally gained AP. And for every 10% of your max AP that you gain, you will take 4,000 damage. So let's say if there's a character that has 100% AP on like doing a rush or getting a takedown or something like that, they'll take 40,000 damage from exhaust. And I believe exhaust damage is main damage, so you do actually get 2 chances to resist this. You get the initial chance to resist it, which would be resisting exhaust in the first place, and then you get the second chance to resist it, which would be resisting main. You could potentially double up on mods if you really wanted to try and get that done. But if it did land and you were one of these, characters that gained a lot of AP, let's say like Kenny, then Kenny is going to blow himself up. He doesn't have much HP at all. I think even with 100% bonus HP, this would still one-shot him. Okay, so we are using Imani on the defense team here, and we're just going to do a defend on every one of my characters. She will use her adrenaline rush. My entire team will get the bleed and the exhaust. I have only got 3 characters, so I just wanted to guarantee that it went to Kenny. And in this situation, when Kenny gets a takedown, he gets AP, and he's not going to get 100% AP because he's obviously got 13 AP already, but he takes 4,000 exhaust damage for every 10% that he does get. So he gets how much AP? Let's see, 32,000. So he got 80% of his max AP, and the exhaust damage just stacks up into one big piece of damage and one-shot Kenny in that situation. Now, if he only gained 10%, he'd only take 4,000 damage, and he could obviously survive that. But the high-end potential of this is really high, and this is the same whether it's the character gaining AP for themselves or someone else giving them AP. It's just about the unnatural sources, and the only natural ones are basic attacks and signature moves. Now, if we check out the upgrades on this rush, you can see that grade 3, you get +1 bleed and exhaust target. So initially, it is only going to be 1 target, and then it goes up to 2 targets for those. At grade 5, it gets plus 2,000 exhaust, so initially it is only 2,000 exhaust, and it goes up to 4,000. And at LB2, it gets another +1 to bleed and exhaust target, so it goes then from 2 to 3 targets. This is obviously really powerful when it comes to the amount of people that could get it. Exhaust is very dangerous indeed, very dangerous, not just for a fight, but honestly for that kind of game balance. The fact it's on Imani's rush makes it much more balanced, but if she goes off, you're in a lot of trouble. So you've got to make sure that you control this rush as much as possible, because Imani is going to be devastating. A lot of the characters on attack right now, almost every single damage that I can really think of that is high tier, has some sort of AP gain in their kit, has some sort of AP gain on their weapon or something like that. So yeah, very, very devastating potential here. And it does last for a long time. 2 turns, it's going to slow you down immensely. And she could potentially get into a position where her rush is ready again very quickly. And Imani is going to be very hard to take down. As she is a tank and the rest of her kit, she is going to be very hard to take down. So be prepared, guys. Be prepared. Now, next up is the signature move of Imani. And it has the cool art of her, basically her main art, like summoning the fireballs. Revealed weakness, it has a turn 1 cooldown and a cooldown of 1 turn. A number of uses unlimited. Remove focus and camouflage from up to 4 enemies. This character gets Guardian Shield. Now, this is where she could potentially be used on attack or defense here, because she's going to be removing camouflage from defense teams, but focus is more used on attack teams. So it's kind of nice. And she gets the Guardian Shield, gives her a bit more survivability. This doesn't do an attack, so she has no chance of proccing a weapon or anything. This is just her basically casting this. And I think it's going to be nice on attack or defense. It's going to be very frustrating having focus removed from your team. I think some of the older characters that already did focus remove have started kind of like being pushed out a little bit. And because we need more defense teams anyway, you're going to need more of those characters potentially. So yeah. Camouflage removal is mainly for fight Typhoon right now, and it would make like any damage dealers that you had multi-hits or like hits 2, hits 3 doesn't get their damage blocked. So yeah, Imani could be a pretty decent support character on an attack team as well. Okay, so coming up against a Typhoon defense team, you can see all these characters have camouflage on them. There is a character within here. I think it could potentially be Jiefeng. I'm not 100% certain. But there's a character within here that does the camo to all Typhoon teammates. We've got a turn 1 signature move here. We do it, and you can just see it gets removed from 4 enemies. It's only this character that has camouflage now, and if you know how camouflage works, if you target the character with camouflage, it will always hit other characters. But if I was to target Jiefeng, like with a rush that hit 3, and the secondary hits, the ones that I don't control, hit Wang Fa, he'd block it. So removing 4 is still very, very powerful. And if these characters had focus on an attack team or defense team, whatever, it would also remove that, which obviously would mean that they can't still attack and still do their skills if they're confused, if they're taunted. So very nice indeed for attack or defense, honestly. Now, checking out the upgrades of the signature move this time around, you can see that it gets -1 to cooldown. So it goes from a 2-turn cooldown down to a 1-turn cooldown at grade 2. At grade 4, it gets an upgrade where this character gets the Guardian Shield. That is just a nice little bonus, mainly on defense, but on attack it is nice. And then at Limit Break 1, it gets +2 to remove targets. So initially it's only 2 targets, then it gets boosted up to 4, which is obviously a very big boost there. At Limit Break 2, it gets a nice boost where it goes to -1 to starting cooldown. And I'd say that is quite important, honestly. That's where you're going to stop a lot of the initial usage of a lot of these things. Like, camouflage off that turn 1 is brutal, especially if you have some fast-hitting characters off of turn 1. They're going to be massively nullified because of that. On defense, removing focus very early on in a fight is obviously a bonus. It counters the leaders that have focus, but isn't going to counter some characters which give themselves or teammates focus at the beginning of their turn, because they'll effectively be reapplying it in that case. But it is going to be basically countering, I think it's Negan lead and Davey lead, and that's going to just stop focus early on. And if you teamed Imani up with like a human shield, then potentially the team up there seems to be actually really good. So you could have like Tara lead, Imani, and Uncle Sam, and they're going to be again doing the business there. Although Uncle Sam does potentially remove focus himself, it doesn't happen every time. It's 80% chance, I think. But then again, we could have another human shield come into the game down the line, and Imani could team up with that character, and you could use Uncle Sam in a different team. Multiple defense teams now in war means that there's going to be potentially multiple shields coming out in the future for sure. Next up, we'll look at Imani's mythic abilities. These are her passive skills, and you can see that she has got strength because she is a tank, which is 40% critical hit resistance. She has got healing salve at the start of each turn. 100% chance this character heals for 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. Now this potentially does stack with itself, So the first turn would be a 50% heal, and then the next turn and beyond should be 100% heal per turn. We'll check that out. Next up is My Head Is My Own. She gets 50% base decap resistance, and this means that she, obviously if you nuke her with a decap, or even if she's got crosshairs on her, she isn't necessarily going to be decapped in that situation. It's a 50% chance that she's just going to be like, nope, dodged. And that's going to combo really well with the last passive, which is called Living Nightmare. At the start of each turn, 100% chance this character gets 60% Halo for 2 turns. This is every turn procs. It's going to happen all the time. It isn't based on a specific part of her kit happening. Let's say like comparing it to Vance, who needs to go into Outlast for this to actually happen. So if he gets normalized, he will not get Halo. Imani's going to get at the beginning of her turn every single turn. So she's always going to have Halo, she's always going to have the heals, and she's always going to have the decap resistance. Okay, so we are going to see how this works with Imani, and I don't think it's ever going to show 100%, because I think the heal will come in at the beginning of the turn, and then it will basically, she'll do at the beginning of a turn, get 50% healing for 2 turns, but it will also count that turn. So effectively, she'll get 50% heal the first turn, this turn here, like you see. But right now, I think that is 1 turn heal, because it will heal her on the next turn, but then it will also reapply it. So she should effectively get 2 heals for 50% in the same turn. So if she's at like 1% HP, she should go up to 100% HP. I'm just going to defend on everybody again, just so we can see. And you can see that it just reapplies it 50% again, but I'm pretty sure she's healing for 100% in those in that turn. She has got decap resistance. It's only 50% chance. Let's see, does it work? Rush comes in, and she didn't get decapped. You can see that she's going to have Halo proc. What sort of order does this actually happen here? We'll see. She gets revived, she gets Halo again, and she gets healed. So the revive comes in before the turns proccing her like passive happens. So she as much as it's a 60% Halo, she's going to be 100% because she's going to heal herself for 50% straight away. And then she's going to have Halo again. So if I manage to take her out again, and I don't decap her again, she'll just keep reviving, keep reviving, keep reviving. So the only real way to deal with that would be kind of like leaving this character to last, but then you're giving her a great opportunity to get that adrenaline rush off, which is going to be devastating for your attack team. It's going to be very hard to kind of like decide how you're going to deal with this character. We'll look at the upgrades on the passives here, and you can see she gets the first half of healing salve at grade 1. At grade 2, she gets the first half of strength, and at grade 3, she gets the second half of healing salve, making a 100% chance to heal this character for 50% HP for 2 turns. At grade 4, she gets 30% of the decap resistance. At grade 5, she gets the first half of Living Nightmare, giving a 50% chance this character gets 60% Halo for 2 turns. And then when you get into the limit breaks, it gets a boost to the critical hit resistance, a boost to the decap resistance up to 50%, and then Living Nightmare 2, at the start of each turn, 50% chance this character gets 60% Halo for 2 turns. It's going to be up to 100% stacking with the first half. So yeah, Halo is always going to be coming in. The heal is always going to be coming in. But it is worth noting those can be stolen away or cleansed effectively if you've got characters that can steal buffs or remove buffs from enemy teams, or, you know, the weapon, ransack. That can be a way to, you know, actually deal with this. But it doesn't... But if you don't deal with that character on that turn, the next turn they're just going to reapply again. So it's definitely going to be problematic, and especially the healing one, because when it does apply on the beginning of the next turn, it will heal them the second it applies. As you saw when the character revived and they had 60% HP, they instantly got revived when it applied at the beginning of that turn. So obviously this is where Imani is really, really powerful. It is in the passives. Her rush is dangerous if it does go off. Her signature move is nice, but her passives are what are going to make her extremely frustrating to come up against. Very tough defense team character for sure. However, it isn't the only place that Imani is going to be powerful, because her specialist skill is one of the better ones in the game, especially for a defense team character, and it is resilient. I think the actual tooltip has been updated, and it says this character gets 50% to any status resistance applied to them. So for instance, if they have a mod, or if they have, you know, other sources of resists, be it like a buff, I think that they stack together by the sounds of it. We always knew that with mods, but the wording here potentially it means that buffs could stack now. And an inherent 50% resistance to all statuses to which they otherwise have no source of resistance. So for instance, if she's just by herself and for whatever reason you haven't modded her, she will get 50% resistance to everything that she has a chance to resist against. If she has a 50% plus stun resist mod, it will stack with this specialist skill, making a 100% chance to resist, making it immunity. Now, it is worth noting that she can't get immunity to decap resistance. Decap does not stack. It isn't something that is in the game as a resistance. She does get that on her kit within her passives, but while I was testing, I did decap her, so it is, you know, not going to stack with the specialist skill. It isn't like she's got 100% decap resistance, but it's still going to be potentially like 100% confuse resist, making it so that the confuse from trader can never hit her, which is obviously going to be really frustrating because confusing this character could be nice to just leave them till last, but you're not going to be able to do that. Like I said with stun, same sort of deal. You could potentially do the same like with any sort of damage type that comes in the future, or any problematic status effect, for instance like trauma or like maim or anything like that, she can get 100% resistance to. This does also include certain status effects which don't have too many sources for. For instance, infection. Imani has a base 50% infection resistance, which obviously is very powerful because only one other character has that in the game, I believe, and that would be Mr. Luke, because he is also another resilience specialist. Now, this is not all with Imani. She has got a really powerful weapon, and it is Imani's defensive ceremonial blade. It has got 40% HP base, 35 defense base, improved absolute defense plus slow. When being attacked, a 60% chance to reduce the damage to 0 and apply a 20% slow to the attacker for their next turn. AP down on death. When this character dies, all enemies get minus 30 AP. So this is obviously really good to combat. If you actually try and nuke her down, you're going to lose AP, make it harder for you to take out the rest of the team, or at least slower for you to take out the rest of the team. The improved absolute defense does mean that she's going to block attacks. She won't block the deal damage. This can of course still be disarmed because it is in the third slot, but it is a 60% chance to stop incoming damage on just like basic attacks and certain signature moves and certain multi-hit rushes. And the fact that it has really good base stats means she could get this up to 55% HP, 35% defense, or you can make it a bit more balanced, go for like 45% HP and 45% defense. And then you could potentially just continuously reset this weapon and change it from HP to defense based on the leader. You know, if you want to stack a particular stat, for instance, going all in on HP with a Tara lead is good because you just get slightly more HP because of that. And then if you were to use a more defense-based leader, going all in on defense here would probably be more beneficial because you would just get slightly more stat again. So that is Gold Mythic Imani, and she has got a pretty nice rush. Once it goes off, it's going to be very problematic. She's got quite a nice signature move as well, but she's got such crazy survivability within her passives. Her specialist skill is going to add to the potential where she's going to be able to get off, you know, her rush and her signature move because she's not going to be controlled as often. She's not going to be able to take certain damage types potentially. She has got that decap resistance. She's got a much more powerful absolute defense weapon than most fast characters can get their hands on. So her survivability side of her kit is really crazy. It's going to potentially slow down fights for you attacking. And if she does get off that adrenaline rush, it's going to be brutal for certain damage dealers. And when I say certain damage, I mean a lot of them. Exhaust has the potential to be very dangerous because so many attack team characters, like I said before, do have bonus sources of AP, be it within their specialist skills, be it within their rush, be it within their signature moves, be it within potentially like weapons, you know. Or even they're in their passives. These are unnatural sources. It will give them 4,000 damage for every 10% AP they gain, and damage dealers don't have a lot of health. 40,000 potential damage coming in from exhaust is going to be almost impossible to deal with by a lot of these attack team characters. But what do you think about Imani? Give me your thoughts about this character in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.